Alright, so I figured while I'm at it, might as well make a video on this too. So this is going to be how to disassemble a Bissell Power Trak, Power Force, or Power Glide. Basically any vacuum that looks exactly the same as these. So I'm going to start off here with the base of the machine, and then if I lift these up just a little bit, he'll come out. Might have to use a screwdriver to help get this one out, because see if I can get it out. There we go. Use the vacuum to help lift it up. It's easier. So there's 2 screws in each of these. One for the right side, one for the left. I don't think it really matters. And then, of course, we can just lift this thing right out of here. But first, let me take apart the bottom here. Actually, let me get my drill. So when you're screwing these, taking these off, unscrewing these, go slow, don't go too fast, because you'll end up probably stripping one of the holes, and then you'll end up to where the screw will just keep spinning and spinning when you try and tighten it. Okay, so there's a total of 5 screws for the bottom roller guard here, and this is it, which I just, of course, made a huge mess with, being all dusty and crap. Alright, so out will come the roller. Your typical, like I said, your typical yellow roller. Might be the same size as a regular Power Force roller, but it's yellow. And then this little rubber piece comes off. It's actually the same color as the inside. Actually, it's a piece of plastic that I guess broke off at the top here. Huh. Interesting. Oh, I see. This red piece was actually fitted for this rubber piece in here, but it actually ended up breaking off. So you would need a whole new assembly for down here, the whole new red piece down here, and just take out your belt here on the side. It'll just slip out. There's your belt. This little door thing, you just push up a little on this clear plastic. It'll come right, pull on it, and it'll come right out. And then this will give you the option to twist the knob all the way down to the bottom, and the little height adjustment knob will come out. And I think that's it. So then what we'll do is disconnect this hose thing here from the body. We'll disconnect it here. It's better if I see it. There is a screw right here, so if I can, there. This will slip out of a little socket, like a little holder. Just jiggle it out and it'll come. And that should free the whole machine. So now that we have this taken apart, we can, of course, take this apart. Here, there's one screw holding it in. So be sure you take that apart. And we will put that back. And now this clear plastic piece will come right out. It's probably best that I take apart the hose so that way when I take it apart it won't just, it'll actually fit through the hole. Comes apart just like that, whole thing comes apart. I'll have to line up taking this off too so we can clean that as well. And this is it. Of course, like I said, this is broken here, so I don't know if I'll be able to glue it. As you can see, the plastic here is real brittle and thin, so I'm not sure how good of a job that's actually going to do. And holding, like I said, I probably have to try and glue it somehow, some way, because if I try and fix it, like if I just leave it like that, I don't know how good. The only thing that it would be holding onto would be these little screw holes right up here. And so just considering how bad the plastic is, you'll know right away that these screw holes can get stripped really easily. So yeah, that's that. I'm not sure if I could find another one of these for, you know, without having to worry. That isn't, I'm not sure if I'll be able to find one that's not broken, but all right. Now we'll just take off the back door, remove this turbo brush, and now we are left with the top. So what I'm going to do here is actually take off the handle. It's always the big screw hole at the bottom right here. Not sure if any of you guys can see, but right there we'll unscrew it from here. I just jiggle it around till I find the right groove and start untwisting it. And all these screws are the same size, so you should never have to worry. And this thing, there we go. And this is always a big fat screw that goes in there. So, okay, we'll put that off to the side. Now we'll turn our attention to the front here, and this will be where I unscrew it from here. I'll actually stayed in. Okay, now I've had this happen to me a couple times when I've tried fixing these vacuums. These little clips here can easily break if you force them too hard. So you want to work one side and work at the other at the same time, and you don't want to put too much pressure on them, and that way it will release this whole front housing piece. So I lift it up a little bit, barely. I could do it with my finger, and I pull gently while trying to lift it from each side. That way none of the clips break. So I've had, like I said, I've had that happen to me before. All right, so here we have the cord. This is where the cord connects to the vacuum and to the switch, to the motor and the switch. Here you just have a little push tab that you push down and it should come right out. If I can see it. Yeah, you just push down on this piece here and it'll come right out. All right, so of course, as always, I always take a picture just to be on the safe side, because I want to make sure that I put the wires back in the right place. And I already know where they go anyway, but it never hurts to be rather safe than sorry. So they do have these little rubber clips on them to help pull them out easier, but they never seem to work for me, so I'm always having to land up using something else to pop these cables off, because these little metal clips, because they just pop off real easy, but it's hard to pull them off because they lock up, they lock on, they grab onto the metal peg on the switch. So let me get a flathead. That always works better. So okay, so here we have a flathead, and all I need is to push it just a little bit there, and it'll come right out. Just pull this out. Pain to get them out sometimes. There we go. And they'll come right out. So now we will take off the cord, and that's detached. So now you'll have this little siding piece over here, and what you want to do is take apart, unscrew these things here. This is part of the motor housing. And we have three more here. So that's where these long, be sure to get a long screwdriver because you will have to get one that will fit down here into this little siding piece. And just as simple as that, this will come off. Also, one thing with these headlight versions, you'll want to take off the headlight. And the headlight will come right off. Probably shouldn't have done this like right back to back after I just turn on the motor. Now I'll try and be careful with our light here. Don't want to break it, but it's a little bulb like that. Some of them have a big metal cylinder around them, which is like one of those push and turn ones. Now you'll have a little screw here that you'll want to remove. This is just holding the light fixture assembly in there. Same size as all these other screws. And now we should be able to take this off. Wow, this is actually a really clean vacuum. Now that I look at it, I mean, this is honestly one of the cleanest vacuums I've ever seen. You know, every single vacuum I've ever gotten off a thrift store, they have all been really dusty or dirty somehow, some way. This vacuum, you can tell, was hardly used, and it was probably just sitting in a shed or sitting in a closet for all these years, and probably used a handful of times. Because I mean, the only thing I'm disappointed about is the front faceplate being broken like that. So but it should be an easy fix, and for what I would be using this vacuum for, it'd be just fine. I mean, I can't complain for a almost 20-year-old vacuum. It will have its problems. So the way there's these little holders that hold the wires in on the side here. They just kind of slip into the little groove there, and it helps hold the wire in. So I always make sure that the brown is at the bottom and the blue is at the top, is at the bottom. So like I said, I'll take a picture. But like I said, in this case, the blue, like the one closest to the motor, the blue is always going to be on top, usually. Blue is going to be on top here. And then the brown will be on top over here. So it kind of switches. So here's a little bit different with these Bissell motors. With these older ones, they have the little 3 prongs. Mainly they only have 2, but because it has the light assembly, you'll have an extra thing you'll have to pull out down here as well as up here too. So I'm gonna get my flathead and see if I can pop it off. You know, and the nice thing is, don't ever be too aggressive with any of these. If it doesn't come off, take your time, because you don't want to risk breaking one of these clips or the wires or anything. All you gotta do is loosen it just a little bit and it should come right off. So yeah, and it'll fit just perfectly after. So you always make sure the 2 tabs up here, there's always 2 tabs up here. Make sure you don't bend these either too much. And then right here you always see like some sort of numbers or writing on there, like labeling right there. So that's how you know the motor's facing upright. And you'll always have the 3rd prong at the bottom if it is one of those machines that does have the light fixture. So, and of course the brown one will go up here, the blue one and black one will go down here. In this case it has 2, but it's brown and blue. And then over here I've taken hundreds of these apart. Well, not hundreds, but I've taken a lot of these old Bissells apart. This one's a little bit trickier to get to because it's more inside the motor, but it's doable. They said always take your time, don't be aggressive with it, and it just pops right off. So now that the motor is free, you can actually see what these 12 amp motors look like. And this is what they are. This is a little rubber gasket to help hold the motor in place when it's running. And as you can see, it's very clean, amazingly clean. Like I said, usually this whole thing is completely dirty. So it's really clean. Like I said, this won't even really need a full-blown detail. So now what I'll do is I'll pull this light fixture, will pull right through, and all I need to do is take off the blue wire from the body and push these little clips right through. And now we have our headlight. And this is also a sticker, so be sure if it falls off, be sure to glue it back, or probably use a glue stick or something. And now that we have this free, we can put this off to the side, and we'll take off our brown wire. And you'll always know too which way it goes, because the ones at the motor will have these curved things, these curved ends, and the one going to the switch will always have these straight ones. So you can't really mix it up. It's really easy to take apart these vacuums, and in my opinion, a lot of people rather throw them away, even though there's really nothing wrong with them. So now here we have the switch, and if you get a flathead, you can push the tab in and it will, and you'll be able to pop the switch through the other side. Let's see. Come on. There we go. And you just do it back and forth carefully. You don't want to, like I said, anytime you're working on something, don't rush through it, no matter how frustrating it gets. And now we have our toggle switch out, because you don't want to wet that. So, all right, and don't forget to take out your motor, your filter here. on the side. Just pull it out, comes right out. You'll want to wash this too. So yeah, and then this door thing will just pop right off. And this is how you disassemble the entire vacuum. Very easy, not many parts to it. Very simple to do. And one thing I will have you know too is if you're ever working on a vacuum with one of these bag indicator lights, things, be sure to avoid wetting this piece here because it will rust out kind of. It won't really disrupt it. If you can dry it, great, but you know, just try and avoid getting it because then it'll make it look real ugly. But yeah, so I'm gonna clean it and then we'll put it back together and you'll see me putting it back together. So only takes 20 minutes. I could have done it probably a lot faster, but me taking my time and doing it the right way, you know, always works better than doing it half-assed. So anyway, see you soon. All right, so we just finished cleaning it up and now it's time to reassemble it. So we did have some minor problems that I have found when I found this vacuum, like when I was cleaning it. So here we have just a minor little crack here, right there, and a minor crack here. Nothing major, it's really not too bad, thankfully. So, and if I wanted to replace this, it would only cost like 20 bucks plus shipping on eBay. So, well, if it was 10 bucks, it would have been better if I didn't have to pay for shipping. So, alrighty, let's start off with the main piece right there. Make sure it's completely dry. Make sure it's all dry in the motor compartment. Okay. And we will put the motor gasket back on. Bring all the parts here. Okay, so I'm going to get the cords, the wiring. I'm going to give this a quick little wipe down. All right. Another problem, like I said, I had found was this piece up here breaking off to the part of the base, I guess, broke off and somehow fused or attached to this rubber piece. I'm not sure how. Maybe they glued it on when it was, you know, being made in the factory, which landed up breaking at this point. So who really knows? It shouldn't affect the way I put it back on. So I would glue it, but I don't want to make it worse than what it already is. So alrighty. One thing I always like to do first is put this back together, which isn't too hard. You just make sure this little dot is at the bottom of the, because you'll see a little gap here. And you'll see the little dot, so make sure that, and there's a gap here, like a little thing here to insert. And that's how the knot pops back into place. And you just twist it. And I usually just keep it in the middle. And what I'll do, put this, of course, right there for now. I'll put this hose back into its place. The long side always goes at the bottom. And that just pops into place. Okay, it looks like it's in. And that will go right here like that, and then be sure to put our screw back in here. Where's the screwdriver? Oh, excuse me. I'm gonna make sure everything's dry too, just in case, so you don't have to worry about if any screws or anything rusting apart. Push that back in like that. And it'll go just like that. And this will adjust the height adjustments for here. Okay, and then we will put this back on like so. There's some grooves in here that this little red plastic piece falls into down here, and on this side too. Yeah, I believe it all fits in a groove somehow, some way. Okay, and it should look something like that. And let's see. So now we got that taken care of. It won't stay perfect until I fix it later, but let's start wiring this thing back up. So remember, keep your two power sides up here. Make sure they're both roughly bent around the same way, and we'll start connecting it. So let's put our headlight thing back on. If I can, oh, it's here. And we'll get our headlight, and we'll get our cover. So you want to stick your blue wire in this hole, slide it all the way in, that's what she said. And we will put back our headlight assembly here. And if it slides in, it goes in this way, like that. Then we'll get our little screw. We'll put it there. Okay. Remember, be careful when screwing all this stuff back in. You don't want to over tighten it. Now we'll get our little light bulb here and stick it right in there. Put it back. Looks like it got bent a little bit. The little metal prong. Just got to be careful with too. Just make sure it's bent back, and there we go. That's put on. Now we'll hook up the light to the small cord. The one by itself goes to the one at the bottom. A single cord or cable, whatever you want to call it. We'll go in like this way. Click in. Now I can put this motor down this way. Well, we'll put it down first. Okay. And it'll fall into place too, so you don't have to worry about setting it just perfect. It will fall into place. The way you can tell is this white plastic piece will always be facing up and down. And then this will be, make sure it's straight up too, like that. And then what we'll do, connect this one back to its original place. That's in. Here's the brown one. And we'll put that one back in here too. So they should all be facing the same way, going that way. And now we can put our assembly back on here. But let's first put these wires in the correct position. So if I remember, blue went first. No, brown went first, then blue. But good thing I have pictures, so I can just be sure. Better safe than sorry. Not like it really matters, but I just want to be sure I put it back the way I took it apart. So yeah, brown goes first here. Closest popped out. Be sure your connection is all the way in. You might have to, these might get bent out a little, so you might want to try and squeeze them or put some pressure on them a little, because I see that this one got a little bent. That's why it's not holding a good connection. I'm going to do it on the tile where it's a hard surface. That should be good. Still might want to crimp it a little bit more. Let's see, that should be good. Yeah, that's a good connection. That one's a good connection. Because sometimes, like I said, they'll come a little loose if you try and pop them out. They may not hold their position. So now put the blue one through. There's also a little slot here that you pop them through. I want to leave a little bit of slack just so these wires aren't touching the motor. And then of course we'll put the brown one through, and the blue one will go first now through here, and then the brown one will go on top. Actually, let's check this, make sure. Yep, just like that. Now we will get our cable, our power cord here, and we will run it through like we did. It has a little notch here too, so you can only put it one way. And this will, it does turn, so be sure to check that, make sure you put it in the right way. And we'll make sure that this is in. Like that. Okay, so now we'll connect these two connections together. We might, well, we shouldn't have to. The switch should pop back in. I shouldn't have to bend these connections. Of course, in these older Bissell models, I know they this is a good thing to check out on. On the later models, I would say anything after 2007 or anything at 2007, the newer models have the power button flipped around. So it originally is supposed to be upright like this, with the circle at the top and the line at the bottom. But when you, so this is on and that's off. On the later models, they switched it to where the bottom is off now and this is on. So the line would be at the top, the circle will be at the bottom, but be sure to remember, you can always tell by the older the switch, it has black indications. The newer the switch, it's white indications. So this is the correct way, and it'll tell you here too which is on and off, so you can't get lost in putting this back on. And it pops in just like that. Next we'll put the power cable on, and like I said, always take pictures, and just, you know, if you need help, just do that. Again, I'm not responsible for anyone taking apart their vacuum. They are doing it at their choice, at their own choice, and like I said, I have no, it's not my fault if you happen to mess yours up or whatever. But like I said, this is just a video to show you how to take apart your machine, make sure it's put in right and stuff, so you should have no trouble, step by step. So then what we'll do is we'll make sure that these are pushed down and they don't, make sure they don't come out. This one is a little loose, but I don't know if it got a good connection. So yeah, this could be crimped a little more. So again, doing it the right way than doing it the wrong way. I'm gonna bend it a little bit, just so we ensure that we have a good connection. Okay. You don't want any loose connections that could cause sparking or cause it's not good to have a loose connection. So now that's a tight connection, and be sure to slip these little rubber covers over the exposed metal, and it should be just fine. And I should probably sometimes, like I said, these wires come out of place, so you have to reposition them, keep repositioning them. Alright, and this is exactly how the brown wire, be sure the black wires on top of the brown wire, all the power cables are on top, the black wires and blue wire connection and white wire connection is above the brown. Like I said, it doesn't really matter, but I just want to do it the way I had found it. That's the way I am. So now we are done with the motor assembly. Be sure to put this little wire cover back on before you install the motor cover, the motor housing cover. This will help hold all the wires in, and everything is hooked up correctly. So now we're going to put our faceplate back on. And make sure that it's all positioned correctly. It doesn't seem like it's good. Push this down a little there. Let's see, there's like a little you want to make sure all your holes are dry, like the screw holes are dry, because you do not want that screw to ever rust. I know it may have some sort of coating on them, but you just don't want to risk having them rust, because then if it happens to rust, you're going to have a hard time having to unscrew it if we ever need to again. Okay, so now let's put our headlight back on. Our faceplate goes good enough. Put that back in there. I've done that one a little too tight. That's put on correctly. Oh yeah, like I said, be sure to take out your pre-motor filter too and wash that. And another thing that I'll get to right now is that I forgot to mention before, when you're taking it off, there's the hose connection, and these are only for the twist off connections. Well, I should say both. They're all Bissell vacuums have the twist off hose connection, so be sure to take this off too, because it fits right here. Just like that. Okay, that's on, and we can put on our, we'll do that last. Alright, so now we'll get our base installed. Okay. This is a pretty lightly used vacuum from what I could tell. It is a shame that it has some broken things on it, but the way you can tell is the motor, the little chrome roller grabber, belt grabber, whatever you want to call it, I'm not sure. The pulley system, it's not burned. It's not like a dark color of metal, so you can tell this vacuum is pretty original. It might have had a belt change at one point, which was, there's a date on here, 7/9 of 2010, even though we know this vacuum was made much longer ago. So now we'll put our belt in. There's a way you just put these in the right little grooves. You can only put it on one way. Like I said, you have these problem with this top piece. So because it's broken, it's kind of hard to make sure it fits in right. Once it's all put in, you should be able to just snap it back on. All right, so now that's all taken care of. Let's put our face plate back on. And that's the thing, there's a little groove. You have to put the bottom in first, and then there we go, which probably needs it. Again, be sure to not over tighten these, because you don't want that to cause problems here. You don't want to have it to restrict the screw hole. Put that one in there too. Okay, put that back down. Oh yeah, one thing I forgot too that you must do, I forgot to screw on the motor head, the motor compartment door or cover. So again, must check that. Once you've been able to work on these machines a lot, they become very easy to fix. Alright, so let's put our caps on. That will secure our whole body here. And these do go on with the flat facing piece in, so other ones usually don't have that. Okay. That one's on. We'll put these ones on. Okay, that's put on. I'll take our little hose attachment here. And we will pop it into place. There's a little groove it just pops into and it will go on with no problem. Okay. Now we'll put our screws back on. Come on. That one's on. This one is. Oh. I'm going slower mainly because I want to make sure you guys this is helpful for you in some way. Hose attachment. Okay, and lastly we'll put on the handle in there so it can that's on. Now here's our back door, and there we go. That is pretty much it. Make sure I don't leave any other parts around. Alright, well, that is the finished product. So I'm going to just leave it like that until the other parts dry, waiting for the hose and waiting for the filters to dry. But that's it. So I'm pretty happy with the way this turned out. Another issue with these vacuums is the more you keep turning these, the more they're going to lose their tension. These will just be kind of useless because they won't really be able to hold the cord. Any slightest movement they kind of break, so you gotta be careful with them when you use them. But yeah, this is a Bissell Power Trak from 2005, I believe, and everything is in working condition. I can definitely tell this vacuum was lightly used because they hardly ever, I mean, for one, the bottom of the faceplate for the roller guard is like brand new. I mean, it has a few scuffs on it, nothing major. So that tells me this vacuum was hardly used, and it tells me it has a lot of life left, because down here you can see how maybe you can or can't. As you can see, it's pretty good and not really scuffed at all, still kind of shiny. So definitely tells me that this vacuum was lightly used. I mean, even up here, the plastic is really in really good shape, really no scratches or anything like there usually is up on the handle. All this really looks like brand new. Some minor scuffing on the door, and maybe up here some minor scuffing, but that's expected with an old machine like this. So yeah, this is the Bissell Power Trak. Definitely a really good machine just from when I used it. So yeah, I'll definitely show an end picture of how it looks, and maybe I'll or when it finishes drying, I'll just turn it on and you'll see it all finished. But yep, cleaned every bit of it. Looks like brand new again. And just judging from how clean the motor compartment was, tells me a lot. This is the first vacuum I've ever had that doesn't have any issues like that. The bottom, the main base is pretty clean. Everything's in really good shape. Even up here, you can tell, right here, usually this camera focus, usually this whole top piece is scuffed or something when the vacuum is fallen or something. So that's another sign. The hose in really good condition. As you can see, the hose is pretty clear. I mean, it doesn't look like that right now, but I'll show you in the light. You can clearly tell it's pretty clean. So, and this is your pre-filter here, and the, I believe, second pre-filter, not sure. So anyway, feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and hope you enjoy this video. I know it's going to be a long video. I'll try and cut it down as much as I can, but I really can't do much if I'm trying to show you. So anyway, feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and we will see you in the next one. Bye.